You ever thought to yourself, what is the future of the detailing industry?
Graphene is going to change the way we detail.
Guess what? Yvan Lacroix on the Lacroix Cruiser is in Heber City visiting our shop. So what I want to do is I want to hop on this bus and pick the brain of Yvan Lacroix. Yvan, welcome to Hawk Pro Detailing
Thank you.
in Heber City, Utah.
Exactly. Happy to be back.
Not your first time here.
No, we've been here multiple times, and every time we enjoy ourselves.
I want to get right to it, and let's talk about where you see this industry post-COVID.
Fortunately, many detailers are now becoming entrepreneurs, and we can see that shift, on the Facebook groups, all that. People are talking about money, they're talking about profits, they're talking about employees, all that. So we see a lot of the smaller detailing businesses now becoming bigger businesses, becoming employers, becoming pillars in their community. And that's something that's really changed in the industry over the last, 20 years really. But it seems to be accelerating more and more.
Do you think that is part of your appeal because you run the Detailers Business Academy?
Right.
Is part of that a sales pitch to get more people to do this on the business side, or are you doing what you do as a reflection of this is where this industry is really going?
I'm doing it because it's what I enjoy doing. It has nothing to do with anything else. I don't make any money. You know as well as I do, YouTube revenue is not exactly what people think it is. I've got 7,000 subscribers. So, when I made $50 in a month, that's a really good month. So definitely not doing it for the money. Doing it because I've been in this industry for 40 years. And that time spent in the industry, I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things going on. And it is a shift that's happening in the industry. Products are getting better. People are talking about business. I speak at MTE every year, Mobile Tech Expo. And the first time I spoke was 18 years ago. I was in a room talking about profits. I might have had 5 people in the room. The room beside me, they were talking about jeweling paint. That room was full.
I would have been there.
Standing room only, because that's what detailers were interested in. And now you go to MTE and there's sessions on profits, there's sessions on running a business, on hiring employees, all that. They're the ones that are full, and the ones talking about how to perfect paint or how to do this or that, because we all have the skills, honestly. You can go to a seminar, you can hear about those skills, but they're not necessarily going to improve your skills until you practice them. But the business aspect of it, we always have something to learn. And that's what I'm focusing on, because I want detailers to have good lives. You're a prime example. You were running your shop, you were running yourself ragged because how many hours were you putting in a week? Plus you had to work another job because the shop wasn't paying you enough, etc., etc., etc. Had you run your shop profitably, you wouldn't have had to do your other career, you wouldn't have had to work 80 hours a week, and you still would have had happy customers. Because a lot of detailers focus on what they want, not what the customer wants.
Speaking of detailers and what they want, where is the detailer ego in March of 2022? You go back in the history of the Autopia forums.
Yeah.
There's Facebook groups, there's YouTube. Talk about where egos are right now, and have you seen any change in the way that detailers look at themselves in terms of egos and some of the things that are talked about or bragged about online?
Still running rampant. Still way, way, way too overinflated. Ego is a good thing to have if it's kept in check. We need pride in what we do, but not necessarily ego. And we still see the post of, I spent 26 hours polishing this car, it's perfect, and I charge the customer $500. And then you have someone like me going on saying, I cleaned, polished, coated the car in 4 hours, charged the customer $1,800. The guy that is losing money, charged $500 for 30 hours work, gets applause, and the detailer that says, hey, I'm profitable, I'm supporting my family, I have ecstatic customers, they're getting exactly what they're paying for, oh, you're a hack, you're no good, etc., etc. And for me, I've been at it 40 years, I don't really care what other people think. I'm past that point. I care what my customers think, not what other detailers think. Because I'm not marketing to other well, now I am marketing to other detailers, sorry. But when I was running my shops, I wasn't marketing to other detailers. I didn't care what other detailers thought. I cared what my customers thought. That was the important aspect of it. And a lot of detailers get over or get caught up in what's the other guy going to think? What's the other shop going to think? What's the guy online going to think? As opposed to, what does my customer want?
What did people do before there was social media in this space? Because it's really, you've seen a big spike in social media across all
Right.
industries.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just a natural progression of who we are as humans, but where did this emotional, braggy, just I'm the best, here's what I'm doing, where did that current travel before the internet?
People meeting each other face to face in shops and saying, "Oh, I'm better than you are." It wasn't as bad then, but it was still prevalent. The detailing industry has a good thing and a bad thing all in one. You can start being a detailer with a bucket, some water, some form of wash media, and a drying towel, and you can call yourself a detailer. Or you can invest $20,000 in equipment and call yourself a detailer. But the low cost of entry makes it so that the person that started with the bucket and the hose and now has a shop, employees, and is bringing home $250,000 a year, they'll have an ego because they built something from nothing. Whereas, with us, we sold franchises. Someone that came in bought a franchise and they knew they were buying a system that worked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Their ego was almost non-existent because they didn't build it from zero. And that's where a lot of that comes, because that building it from zero, obviously you're going to be proud of that. You're going to want to share that, hey, I started with nothing, I started in the trenches, and I built this up myself. So that boosts that ego and that almost validates it.
What's the most exciting product or development in science or technology or chemistry in the industry lately?
Lately, it's unfortunately some people are using it as a buzzword, some people are using it in reality, and that's graphene. Graphene is going to change the way we detail. Not dramatically, but it's making coatings better. It's making soaps better. And graphene, it makes electronics better. It's just impacting everything that we do. And it's graphene oxide, not graphene.
What does graphene even mean, and what's the difference between those two?
So graphene, pure graphene, exists in science labs in reality. Graphene oxide costs less, is easier to produce. It's just a byproduct of producing that real graphene. We don't need the real graphene in detailing. It's not going to change anything for us, but the graphene oxide does. What it does, it makes the vehicle easier to maintain, like a SiO2, but it's more water spot resistant. And that to me is the big change, because before coatings, we put waxes on cars. Waxes didn't have problems with water spots.
I thought they did.
No, not like we have with coatings. The coating forces beading. The wax also made beading, but now you had an organic matter, the wax, on the vehicle, that the mineral deposits that were left from the water spotting were absorbed into that, not into the paint. And that wax gets fluffed off and it goes. Now the customer that doesn't wax his car on a regular basis, because wax lasts 3 months, I don't care what anybody says, wax is a 3-month thing. There's some that might last 6 months, but in reality, 3 months. So if you're waxing your car every 3 months, water spotting is not necessarily an issue. Water spots came about with that change in the change of surface chemistry that we're using. So now we're using coatings, and those coatings, especially the SiO2 coatings, are very, you look at it and it water spots. Whereas the graphene is going to make it more user-friendly, not for the detailer. In fact, it is user-friendly for the detailer, but more for the consumer that is paying to have their car coated. They will not need to worry as much about water spots and won't be concerned about it. And in reality, as detailers, we're really concerned about the water spotting. A lot of customers don't even know it exists.
As a slightly casual, slightly studied student of detailing history, I see some seminal moments as the dual action polisher, which I know you helped develop, the Porter cable, but
Yeah.
I think Rupes transformed in a lot of ways what the dual action polisher and in a broader sense transformed polishing for detailers.
Yeah.
Based on what I've heard about it. And then, so you've got dual action polisher, ceramic coatings. Maybe there are some other big chapters in this story, but are you saying graphene might be the next big word, because you've got ceramic everything in the AutoZone and the O'Reilly? I mean, people know ceramic now.
Yeah.
Is graphene the next thing? Because I interviewed Matt Morman, and he said that graphene was just a bunch of hype.
And graphene can be a bunch of hype, and unfortunately, a lot of customers or a lot of chemical manufacturers are using it as hype. But you'll have the people saying graphene is hype, graphene is no good, because their chemist hasn't wrapped their head around graphene and figured out how to incorporate it in reality into what they're doing. You have some companies that have embraced, you have some companies that have embraced graphene and made it to a point where it actually does what they say it does. But yes, right now, it's one of those, graphene is good, graphene isn't good. When coatings came out 20 years ago, it was the same way. You know, you had naysayers saying coatings will never do anything, coatings are crap, it's just, snake oil, and now everybody's using a coating. You can get coating at a car wash now. So that hesitance to change is always there. And in our industry, it seems to be very prevalent that whenever you bring something new on, it's like, no, can't work, it's impossible. Instead of embracing it and going, okay, let me try this and see if it actually does work.
Who is going to be left behind if they don't adapt? What adaptations do detailers or business owners need to start thinking really critically about if they don't want to be left behind and then blink their eyes and say, wait, I started my business 5 years before this guy. How is he dominating my market?
The person that's dominating the market is not doing it because they're a better detailer. It's not doing it because they're a better polisher, whatever. They're doing it because they're a better business person. And to expand on that, they're a better customer service representative. What we are selling is not detailing. That's a byproduct of what we're doing. We're providing customer service. And when you can provide exceptional customer service, you're going to be much better off and in a better position than the one that's providing exceptional detailing. Look at car washes. How many people are in line at a car wash every day? And we all know they're damaging the car. Despite the technology advances, car washing has come a long way from the big nylon brushes spinning at 100 RPM down to low RPM, and they're not hitting the car anymore, they're just gently cleaning it off. That being said, they're still doing damage to cars. Whereas in the detailing industry, detailers focus way too much on themselves and their own little niche needs, and I need to, when I'm polishing a car or when I'm coating a car, it needs to be perfect before I put the coating on. People drive away from the dealership every day with cars that we as detailers know look like they're horrendous. They're scratched, the lot washer has washed it 80 times. Well, not anymore, but cars don't stand the lots these days. But that being said, from the consumer's perspective, they just bought a brand new car. It's perfect. That's literally it. To them, showroom perfect. As detailers, we know it's showroom destroyed.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But for the consumer, it's showroom perfect. And we're putting our needs onto that consumer. And the detailer that focuses on their customer's needs and satisfying their customer is going to do a much better job than the one that's satisfying their own needs or trying to satisfy their ego or the other detailers online, because some other detailer online told them that you can't do a coating on a car that isn't perfect. Well, no, you can put a coating on a car that's all scratched up. The customer's still going to be happy, because why is the customer buying the coating? That's another industry thing that's a little different. You have the coating companies, some of them telling you that the paint needs to be perfect. It needs to be polished to perfection before you can put a coating on. The coating doesn't care. The coating wants a clean surface. That's it. It can be scratched. And frankly, a lot of customers don't see the scratches. They don't care. They just want a car they don't have to wash as often, that if they let the bird crap sit on the car for 6 months, it's not going to etch through the paint. If you're in an area with love bugs, the love bugs are not going to eat the paint off the car. That's what consumers want from a coating. They want protection. They want a bit of shine, make it easier to maintain. As detailers, we want the ultimate in gloss and the ultimate in slickness and 115-degree water beading and all of that. Consumers could care less.
What the heck is the degree with the water beading and the contact angle? Tell me about the chemistry or the science of all that.
So the lotus effect. It's easier if you just go on Google and Google lotus effect. But
Stay on the video.
yeah, but
stay on the
no,
hot
later,
video.
later. Not right now. He'll put a link into something that describes lotus effect.
Absolutely.
That way you don't need to go searching right now. But if we look at a 90-degree contact angle, so there's a bubble of water sitting on the paint. Well, if it's a 90-degree contact angle, that means this bubble comes down and ends at 90 degrees. But if we have, let's say, a 115-degree contact angle, that bubble is going in and making that 115-degree angle here. Or the camera's there. So 100, not you, camera. So instead of a 90-degree contact angle, that bubble is going in. So it looks like you actually have a ball sitting on top instead of a dome. So, you know, the Napa delivery trucks, they all have that baseball helmet, you know, baseball hat sitting on top. Well, that would be a 90-degree contact angle. But if you were to put a basketball on top, you have like a 130-degree contact angle or whatever. So that's what that contact angle is. So the higher the number, the farther away you are from 90 degrees. So that bead, what's actually touching the surface is smaller because the bead can't physically spread out on the surface.
Are water beads underrated or overrated?
Both. It really doesn't show in reality that the surface is protected. It just shows that the surface has no contamination on it and the bead, you know, can't attach to the surface. So yes, beading is good. But on the other hand, anybody who's been to a body shop, I don't care what coating, how much you polish, etc., fresh out of the paint booth, that's the best beading you'll ever see. And it hasn't been polished, it hasn't been coated, it doesn't have a wax on it, but the surface has no imperfections. So it's still perfectly smooth. And when we're polishing, we're actually causing imperfections because we're using abrasives. Now, to our eye, we don't see those imperfections. We put it under a really heavy-duty, microscope that's more expensive than my bus. That will then show that no, you've got these little micro lines that we don't see, and that's why the water spreads out along that.
Speaking of your bus, the Lacroix Cruiser.
Yeah.
You've been traveling on it now for years, but the pandemic happens.
Right.
And you're stuck in Canada.
Right.
Ivan's always the smiling detail guy, but as a person,
yeah,
what was the hardest thing about that?
Nothing really.
Come on, there's got to be something that what was a challenging part of this journey, because you see the world, the country, the continent from such a different angle, driving through on these roads.
Yeah.
That is such a different experience, but essentially weren't you kind of stopped?
Yes, but we decided to build another bus. So we had something to do.
You built another bus.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what happened.
Right. But in reality, the only hardship we had was, the hardware store is out of this again, or the hardware store is closed. That was about it. In reality, we were with our kids, we were with our grandkids, so we were surrounded by great people. We had fun. We just enjoyed life.
So you got more family time in.
Yeah, exactly. Less traveling, more family time.
What is auto detailing at its best to you? Because for me, it's being able to use my hands to create something.
Yeah.
It's meditative. If you're doing it as a business, you can make somebody happy. You can make money.
Yeah.
Take somebody at a very low barrier of entry and gives them the agency to work their butt off and achieve. There's just so many beautiful things about it. Plus, how cool are the cars, and you make them look good. But given how hard life has always been, and it seems to be ever more complicated, what to you is auto detailing at its best?
Passion. It's passion. It's fun. It's satisfaction. We're passionate about what we do. We love making cars shine. We love making people happy. The fun part of it is actually fun work. It's not a grind. And if it is a grind, look at what you're doing and change it. It should be fun. It shouldn't be a job. It's a career. And the other, so you have the passion, you have the fun, and you have the results. You have people that fall in love with a car again because you spent a couple hours on it. And you're making people happy. The automobile is a big part of our lives.
I wanted to actually ask you about a little bit philosophy, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did. But you mentioned the passion. Why do we love our cars, right? The automobile, the guts of them are so complicated and beautiful. the horsepower, the speed, the whatever. But like, we're into the paint and making them. But can you encapsulate why the car is so vital to the soul of so many people?
It's given us freedom. You know, before, you're here in Heber City. In the horse-drawn carriage days, going to Salt Lake City was a long, hard road. Now, you do it every day in your car, and it takes 45 minutes. So, it's given us that freedom. You know, for us, we live in a bus. We're nomads. We have no fixed address. You know, we're homeless. In all intents and purposes, we're homeless. Now, we take our home with us. Better description would be we're houseless. But without that internal combustion engine, now electrical, but, you know, without that thing, all of our life, for Sylvie and I, would be non-existent. And, you know, one question that we get a lot is, where do you like traveling to the most? And for us, the answer is very truthful when I say nowhere. We have no, this is our favorite spot. Because we don't travel to see things, we travel to meet people. And it's the people that we meet that make our life, that enrich our lives. And make it so that we enjoy what we're doing and want us to travel further. We're not traveling further to go see sights. We're not tourists. We've been in Heber we've been here for 3 days now, and we haven't gone sightseeing. We haven't done the Heber Creeper, or, you know,
which is a train and is kind of fun. By
yeah,
the way.
Exactly.
It's a scenic.
Yeah, scenic train through the mountains.
Not to be confused with the Rack Attack Creeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think you and Dan Williams in the Optico days turned me on to, which is a nice little wheeled knee and back support.
Yeah, exactly.
Auto detailing support tool. But
so you'll have an Amazon link to that. But anyways,
down below.
Yeah, down below. That being said, you know, the reason the automobile or the bus or whatever is so important in our lives is because it's given us that ability to move around, that ability to go see family, that ability to move away. Humans like shiny things. We always have. You know, oh, a squirrel. No, but, you know, we like shiny things. We like to be proud of what we own. And, you know, the greatest example, I've been teaching classes recently for agricultural detailing. And a lot of the people are hating on it because they're going, farmers will never pay for that. No. The farmer has paid $500,000 to buy this tractor. He wants it to shine. And the farmer goes to an auction, buys a used tractor. They could be two identical tractors. They have the same number of hours, they have the same wear and tear on them, but the one that's shiny is going to sell for $10,000 or $15,000 more than the one that the paint is all matte and ruined on. So as humans, we like shiny things, and we have pride in what we own. And that pride is manifested in, if your car looks like crap, you lose the love for your car. And you've seen it, you've detailed cars that people brought it to you because they're going to trade it in. And you're done the detail, and it's like, oh, I'm keeping this car. I'm falling in love with it again. Because it got to a point where for them, it was impossible to maintain. Not impossible to maintain, but they couldn't get it back to the way they wanted it. And that's where the professional detailer comes in. It's like, we can get it to that point again, and we can help you keep it that way.
Enhancing the feeling and the satisfaction around a perceived and very real freedom is very cool. Can we end on that positive note, Yvan?
We can end whatever you want.
There's more to come. The adventure continues. The conversations continue. But as always, it's been great having you here. And where can they find you on the YouTubes and the social media?
Social media, just my name. And YouTube, Yvan Lacroix, or the Detailers Business Academy. And the Detailers Business Academy is a YouTube channel I started simply to put my essays that I used to write on Facebook into a form that is more convenient for people. So my YouTube channel, appearance-wise, this is my backdrop. I'm in the kitchen of our bus. So it's not sexy. You can listen to my channel without having to watch it for 99% of the videos. There's a few hands-on videos, but they're few and far between. The rest is just concepts. It's talking about business. It's talking about customer satisfaction, how to improve not only as a detailer, but as an entrepreneur and as a human being.